Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name's Steve and this is a 5-minute review of 24 Hours to Live from 2017 starring Ethan Hawke. To be honest, when I first started watching this film, I knew very little about it. It had popped up, it looked quite interesting, I thought, I'll give it a go. But there's always a lot of pot luck with films like this. They could turn out to be terrible or they could be something really interesting. And I was surprised to find that this was actually quite a good film. Ethan Hawke plays a character called Travis Conrad, who's a hitman who's currently taking a break due to personal reasons, and we later find out that his family has been killed, and because of that, he's taking some time off. He spends the day with his father-in-law, played by Rutger Hauer, fishing and drinking, and not doing much else. But of course, something comes up which forces him to go back to work. An old friend contacts him and offers him a job for a lot of money, and he just can't turn it down. So far, fairly typical, nothing too outrageous or unusual. But then the film takes quite an interesting twist, which leads into the title of the film, which isn't really a spoiler. Whilst he's investigating the person he's supposed to be killing, he makes a mistake and is killed in the process. And we're only about 30 minutes into the film at this point. The character then wakes up on the table, having been brought back to life despite the fact that he has 2 slugs in his chest which have been removed. This isn't really a science fiction film. All we know later on, and it isn't a spoiler really, just to say that they find out due to some advanced medical procedure they brought him back. So it's not a Frankenstein thing, it's some kind of super drug. However, it has a very limited shelf life and he only has 24 hours to live before the drugs break down and he will die again for real. The slightly weird thing, but is obviously quite useful for the plot of the film, is that he has a timer in his arm that tells him how much time he has left. What follows is actually quite an interesting and exciting action thriller with some really great set pieces. Ethan Hawke shares the lead with Xing Wu, and the two of them make quite a good team as they take on this nefarious organisation called Red Mountain, who they both have connections to. Even though Ethan Hawke's character Travis only has 24 hours to live, he isn't immortal, and if he gets shot and killed again, he will die properly. So it doesn't make him reckless, but we get to see some of his skills because he was one of the best before he was killed. The film feels a little bit like John Wick. The action scenes are frenetic and explosive. The car chases are really interesting, and the stunts are done exceptionally well, which makes a great deal of sense because of the director and his pedigree in the industry, both as a second-unit director and someone who's worked with stunts for a long time. The film is only an hour and a half, so the pace of the film is relentless once it reaches the point where we know time is ticking down and Travis's life is trickling away. They still manage to find time to develop the characters and make you care about both leads and their burgeoning friendship and possibly relationship despite the fact that he is going to die. Ethan Hawke gives a very convincing performance as this man who's tortured by the past but also loves his family very much and is feeling their loss a great deal. I've always found Ethan Hawke quite an interesting actor, and he's excellent in the lead role in many of the films that he's been in, but he's not your typical action hero, and in this film exemplifies it. Despite the fact that it is quite physical, he definitely rises to the challenge, and it's not something I've seen him do before. We're now at the point where there's so many films coming out these days, it's difficult to keep track, and if they don't appear at the cinema and it's one of the really big headline films, I'm likely to miss it until I see it on something like a Netflix or Amazon. And this one completely passed me by, even though it was only a couple of years ago. So I don't even know if it had a cinema release or not, or if it was specifically made for one of these other channels. It's definitely worth seeing, and it's a great action film to sit down and watch when you're in the mood for something quite exciting and frenetic with a lot of action. I had a couple of quibbles about the film, but there was nothing major that I didn't really like. Some of the plot contrivances were a little bit strange and a couple of moments felt forced, but generally it's a really enjoyable film. So I'm going to give it 4 out of 5. Have you seen 24 Hours to Live? If so, comment below and let us know. You can contact us on Facebook, email and Twitter, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.